Hi guys, you're watching AKRC. This is the completed Intech ERSC-10. I'm going to show you the build video. If you're going to build this kit, there's some useful information in there. And then once you're done, we'll watch some run video and I'll run you through how driving the truck is like. Alright? So according to the manual, the first thing we're going to start to assemble is the gear diff. Before we start assembling the diff, you want to make sure you have all your tools ready. Caliper, oils. Then in my case, I also prepare metal polish. So before we do anything, just want to inspect all the parts, the most critical component in your car. You want to take your time, you want to inspect everything visually, make sure that it looks fine. Try not to rush through building your diff. You want to check the drive pins with a smooth clean surface. Just check all the bearings, make sure they're smooth. Okay, I'll use my rotary tool. Usually what I like to do with the brand new gear diff, before I start assembling the diff, I will take the drive pins, put it into my rotary tool. I'll take a metal polish, just put a little bit, just too much. Okay. Just polish the drive pin a little bit to ensure that you get as smooth as possible surface. So you want to do this on all the drive pins. There's 4 of them. You also do it on the center diff.
A few moments later.
I've done all the 4 drive pins. So this is just to make sure that it's all consistent and smooth. After you're done polishing the drive pins, we'll clean it a little bit with some brake cleaner. A quick squirt. Okay, the oil that came in the kit is 5000, 3000 and 1000. This is for the front, that's for the back, and this is for the center diff. So we start with the rear diff. You want to inspect the diff case just to make sure there's nothing in there, make sure it's totally clean. We start building it. You can either use your diff oil to lubricate the drive cup shaft here before we put it in, or if in my case I'll use some lithium grease. Just want to push the O-ring in just to make sure it's seated well. Okay, get your drive pin in. And do the same on the other side. Before I start putting oil in the diff, I like to assemble the diff totally dry first. So I've got all the gears in now. Before I fill the diff up with oil, I'll just fix it up, put the screws in. So once all the screws are in, just feel the diff to make sure that it feels okay. So this is fine. Then I will remove it. I'll fill about halfway with the gear oil. About there. Okay, looks good. Then next we can put in the gears. And turn the pin around to the right side up. Put a little bit more oil. And you want to top it up till just about where it reaches on top of the spider gear. But you don't want to overfill your diff, because an overfilled diff can lead to overheating of the gear diff. Close it up. Just make sure the holes are aligned. Go across. There you go. That's one diff done. You want to repeat this on all the diffs. So I'll finish up here. I've got all 3 gear diffs done. I got a paint marker and put that 3K, 5K and 1K. So now we can move on to the next step of the build, the transmission assembly. Just quick look at the gear. Looks good. Good thing with this kit is looks like the drive shaft comes already assembled, but I think we should get a little bit of grease in there. Whenever you're building your drive shaft, you always want to have some thread lock. Put a little bit. When you fit it in, you want to make sure that there's just a tiny bit of free play. It should be spinning without much friction. So this is the front, which is 3000. You want to make sure that when everything is assembled, you screw everything in first. Then you want to feel for any free play. There's almost none, which is perfect. So now I've got the front and the rear transmission built. Move on to the next step, which will be the suspension. Let's just see if the hinge pin goes in smoothly. Oh, that's nice. Feels pretty smooth. Not too much free play. A little bit of free play for a car like a short course truck or any large scale cars. A bit of free play is, to me, is acceptable. So for the stock setup on the rear suspension, the forward suspension bracket will use a 0-toe inserts. So the stock setting will be the 1 degree. You want the holes to be on the outside here instead of it being this height. Then you get your toe in. Okay, so as you can see, I've removed the arm. So this is if there's no toe, but because there's about a few degrees of toe in, it actually forces the pins to be like this, and what happens is you get a lot of friction on this side and this side. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to file it down a little bit at this area and this area, and hopefully that should free it up a bit.
A few moments later.
Okay, I filed down one side. Maybe you can see it. It's somewhere here. Yeah, it's about. Just filed it down a little bit this side. So hopefully that frees it up a bit. Now go ahead and do this side. Okay, now that both sides are done, go back and install the whole thing again. Here you go. Now we're free. The rear bumper. I skipped all the boring parts of the build because everything is pretty much straightforward, and this is the completed I would say the rear part. Now that this is done, let's move on to the front. Next would be these things. Just want to wipe off any excess grease. This is for the right side. Now if you find that your steering feels tight like this, remove the screws. Just get a file. You want to shave a little bit off the top here and the bottom. Do it bit by bit and keep doing a test fit until you feel that it's smooth enough. You don't want to overdo it because then you'll have some slop, which is no good. When you fix it all back, no slop, smooth. So that's how you get a smooth steering. So again, you want to grease. It does feel like a little bit of a tight fit. So let's shave it a bit. Okay, so that's how you make sure that your uprights can move, or your C-hubs can move freely. Yeah. No binding whatsoever. Alright, up next are the turnbuckles. If you've built kits before, you'll know that some kits, the turnbuckle, once it's all assembled into the car, it's kind of difficult to do any adjustment because sometimes it's just, you know, the fit is too tight. Then when you try to make any adjustment, it will pop off the ball head. Fortunately for this car, it does not use any ball heads. It uses this where, you know, where it's screwed in properly. But still, I prefer to have mine smooth, and to help it, I actually use this. So what I do is I'll coat the ends of the turnbuckle a little bit, then I start to screw them in. Now that this is done, you can start fitting it in. Alright, so now on to the next step, which is the assembly of both the front and rear suspension and transmission set to the chassis.
A few moments later.
So as you can see, I've completed most of the build off camera. What is left is just this, this is the receiver box. Then we'll move on to building the shocks. Same thing that I did with the hinge pins, I also do it with the shock shafts. So that's it for the car, it's all complete. What is left now, need to install the speed controller, receiver, and paint the body and test it out. Alright, so that was the build. After the build, I had one day to try the truck out at SBS. My first feeling I had is that this truck has a lot of steering. I had to do some tweaks to make it easier to drive. After the test run, the following week, I joined the Electric Malaysian National League down at the Dirt Bureau, but I was fighting with a little bit of problem with my electronic. For some reason, it's either the motor or the ESC had some issue. But even then, out of the 3 A-main finals, I managed to win one of it, and overall I placed third. The winner of the short course truck was actually Hakim, who happens to be driving Intech ERSC-10. It's a first time out for Intech ERSC-10 on any race in Malaysia, and it's sort of a good result because we got first and third. Comparing this against the other short course trucks, I have to say this is the heaviest truck of all. Not surprising because it's actually built like a tank. I was crashing here and there, and I got out of the race in one piece. Yeah, I would highly recommend this truck to anyone who's new to RC because, you know, it's built really tough and it can take a lot of beating. So if you'd like to buy this truck, SBS is actually the distributor for Intech RC racing products in Malaysia. So that's about it. I'll see you in the next video.